another view from the van with Paul from Magpie 24/7. Driving strong opinions on everything Newcastle United. Magpie 24/7. By fans, for fans.
How's everybody doing? It is Paul from Magpie 24/7 out in the van with the view from the van. I hope everybody is okay and you weren't too bored if you watched that godforsaken England match last night. Jesus wept when fucking Arms is the best bastard player on the park. You know there's difficult times ahead. Goodness me, thank goodness there is more players to come back for England, because if that was the starting team against Croatia, we would be up shit creek without a bastard paddle, because I thought last night we just laboured, we looked tired, we looked lethargic, and the best part of it was when the commentator mentioned about Graham Jones and our upturning form after he'd signed and stuff, and you know somewhere probably took into a bit of apple crumble with his missus. Steve Bruce is sitting there. Oh, he's pickled. He's not very happy. He'll be sitting there going, that bastard commentator. I fucking hate ITV, mate. I fucking hate it. Yes, the man who is about as useful as a used wet wipe will have been at home, absolutely seething at the comments by ITV Sport. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It pans to Graham Jones for about 30 seconds, and they say that he's on loan from Newcastle, which it did make me chuckle. But that was probably the highlight of the game last night. I don't know what you think, but let me know down below. How bad was that performance last night? Anyway, let's get on to Newcastle. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of cutting today, that's for sure. Busy as St. Maximin in the box on a run. That level of graft on today, Mr. No Days Off, you know that by now. Yes, the England game was absolutely, I thought, quite boring. Tyrone Mings is an absolute liability at the back. And Austria had us on the ropes. You've just got to hope that, like I've just touched on, that come tournament time, come the second warm-up match, which, can I just say, the Sunderland digs during the game were just spot on. I liked it. I was laughing my head off. But we've got to get it better. That isn't going to be the team, is it? Let's face it, that plays Croatia. That was absolutely pretty shocking, and it was terrible to win. But a win's a win, I suppose, at the end of the day. Austria, quite a defensive team in themselves. They like to build upon a strong defensive platform. But yeah, the season for Newcastle is done. We're still getting linked with everybody. Tom, Dick and Harry already linked. Looks like we're losing out with one or two. The lad from Wigan, Kyle Joseph, is it? I don't think it's Kyle Walker. I keep wanting to say Kyle Walker, but it's Kyle Joseph. He had a decent season down in that league that Sunderland were in. And yeah, got to get them in. But it looks as if, according to the press down in South Wales, in the papers down there, they're reporting that they are confident of landing a deal for Kyle, not Thompson, Joseph, and they believe they've done enough to persuade him that his future lies down in South Wales. So that will be a bit of a blow to us, because I certainly think he, if he was coming in with the fact that Carroll is definitely going, there's no way that they're going to be keeping him around for another season unless it's a coach's position or something like that. And Dwight Gale is keeping his options open, which is code for he'll probably end up at West Brom. Because let's face it, I mean, what did he have? One goal? I think it was one goal last season. For a striker, it's nowhere near prolific. We've had this argument before with Andy Carroll. We've had this argument with Joe Linton. Strikers who don't score goals are pretty useless. Yeah, I'd much rather have a striker that doesn't do very much else, but he buries the goals away, than a striker that is busy in this, that and the other, or is a professional, or whatever you want to dress it up as. And I think Dwight Gale fits into that category. He's done a lot for Newcastle. He's been a good player for us. The championship season alone was worth the transfer fee that we spent on him, but I think the time is up. He was offered a contract by Newcastle 3 weeks ago, and if he really wanted to stay, he would have signed it then and it would have been done. The fact that it hasn't now leads you to believe that that is his backup option, and nowhere in the world should Newcastle United be a backup option for a Dwight Gale. So for me, mentally, I think I'm as good as thinking he is out the door. He's gone. That's that. And yeah, so it now just really leaves Callum Wilson up top as our only recognised decent striker. Don't go there with Joe Linton, because yes, I do still expect Joe Linton to be around next season, because who would be foolish enough to pay, well, to pay anything at all? Yeah, nobody would. You'd have to be literally off your tits to pay anything for Joe Linton. Sorry, like, the only Brazilian who can't play fucking football. So we are going to need strike and reinforcement. So interested to see who the club is able to bring in. Do we make moves early, which is the preferred thing to get them bedded in, or do we wait till later on? Because I don't want to have to bang on about it, but the takeover still hovers large on the horizon above Newcastle, as it's done now for goodness knows how long. It's like toothache. It really, really is. But I mean, even today, even as I was just about ready to record, Football Insider quoting that they've been told it's their understanding. They've heard of people that at the end of July, you've heard other people on different social media accounts and YouTube shows and stuff like that again suggest end of July should be a time that we find something out, positive or negative. Will they leave it with the hope that they will get a cash injection and make a decent purchase at the end? I don't know. We have been linked with Tammy Abraham as well, but I think it's fanciful at best. He's wanting first team football. There's no doubt he would be fantastic in Newcastle, but I cannot see us paying the wages on a loan. I can't see us buying him outright. I don't see him leaving London to come up here, and I think if he was to leave Chelsea, I think he'd have suitors a lot closer to home. I think there's clubs in London who would no doubt bend over backwards and pay whatever the going rate is to be able to land a Tammy Abraham, and I don't see Newcastle doing that. To be honest, I'm surprised we even paid the fucking electric bill with Lee Charnley in bastard charge. That man is the absolute definition of a used fucking wet wipe. He is about that much fucking use, let's face it. Fuck me, apologies again, but I've done more work this morning than what the likes of Henri Savay has done across the entirety of his time at Newcastle United, during which time he has been made a millionaire probably many times over. Yeah, so me getting a sweat on, me getting some work in. Newcastle season, goodness me, where to sum it up? We finished 12th somehow, somewhere, through more Bruce luck, fucktardery, victories at the end of the season over Sheffield United and Fulham propelled Newcastle up into a very much, in my opinion, a fourth position ahead of a particularly very poor bottom pack. The three who have gone down have gone down with quite a low points total. I think safety was really it was really assured quite a long time ago, but make no doubt about it, you're going to get the Bruce cheerleaders out in force across the media. We have yet again been in a relegation battle. Might think it's 12th, but our season has basically been fuck the Cubs, yeah, going out to bastard Brentford fucking reserves and everything. Fuck the Cubs, stay up in the league, achieve the remit of the club, yeah. Fuck the actual customers, because we're not supporters in the club's eyes. Remember that, we're all just lowly customers and get Premier League survival, and that is what he's done. Where, you know, you don't get a cup, you don't get European qualification by finishing fucking 12th, and this is what really pisses me off, to be honest. This club shouldn't think that is a success. 12th for Newcastle United is fucking shite. It is absolutely shite. Make no bones about it. I'll make no apologies personally myself. It is not good enough. We should be top half of the Premier League. Should be. Easily. Every season. We shouldn't be looking over our shoulders. And we should be thinking about European qualification. And that's not been like a demanding, you know, too much expectation, Geordie, and all this sort of shite that Sky Sports and media outlets left, right and centre like to have a pop. This isn't ungrateful bastards, as Tim Sherwood might call you, or Stan Collymore. No, it's just speaking in real terms. You're looking around at Aston Villa, who survived by a VAR fuck up last season. We're looking at West Ham doing really well under an unfashionable manager who they didn't want. Never mind dressing up now is all this magic loving down at the fucking bubble blowing bowling ground wannabe place, the taxpayer stadium. We should be able to look at them sort of clubs, Aston Villa and West Ham's, and think Newcastle should be able to compete with them, and there's no reason why we cannot. You look at fan bases, you look at stadiums, you look at history, you look at everything, and it should tell you that Newcastle are more than capable of hanging with them. That's not me saying that I'm demanding Champions League or out like that. But a club should be built on hope. It should be built on a plan to get better, to improve the playing squad, to improve the facilities, to not let your football ground fall into disrepair, like what Ashley has done with St James's Park. That is a point to get to later on, or maybe a podcast one, to be fair. But there's no reason why we couldn't and shouldn't have been able to, with the investment that Steve Bruce himself had last summer, have been able to push on and do a lot better. And this season to me has been like a shit sandwich, and I say that because the beginning of the season, it wasn't too bad, you know, going to West Ham, going to the taxpayer stadium, winning down there. We started off relatively okay. We had an absolute chod the size that fat bastard from Austin Powers might knock out in the middle, where we were winning 1 or 2 games in 20 games, something like that. Wholly unacceptable. And any other manager at any other club from Sheffield United up would have sacked him. He should have been sacked after the Sheffield United game. He should have been sacked after the Brentford Reserve catastrophe and embarrassment game. He should have been sacked on multiple occasions, but wasn't. They stuck with him, and in appointing Graham Jones, our best signing of the transfer window, just maybe you'd argue, I know Joe Willock and all, but then that helped turn around performances slowly but surely. We got a little bit more creative with regards to set pieces and corners and all that sort of lovely good stuff. We had different tactics. We played the 5 at the back much better. We got more men forward into the box. We were creating more chances, ultimately scoring more goals, improving our possession stats. And then the end of the shit sandwich was a decent turnaround in form when Newcastle went. And again, not really doing it with the teams around us so much, but taking a few surprise points here and there, like against your Liverpools of the world and your Leicesters, which was the surprise of the season for me. The Leicester performance, the Leicester result, the Leicester game. Not even Mystic Bastard Meg, would have seen that one coming, because it was so out of the dark, it was so left field, it was unbelievable. So it has to be moment of the season, performance of the season, totally. And getting on, if you're classing that as performance of the season, the man of the season, it's between it would probably be between 3 people. Callum Wilson, who was a masterstroke of a signing, Graham Jones, who the club brought in because Steve Bruce couldn't wear big boy pants and couldn't handle it all himself. And then Joe Willock, what an inspired choice. And whoever brought him in, it's credit and it's kudos to them. Yeah, once again, making a stop, starting again. But yeah, as I was saying before, whoever decided to bring those particular people in to the football club, it's all credit to them. It really, really is. Without them, Newcastle go down. We're a Fulham, we're a Sheffield United, we're a West Brom. We go down, there's no doubt about it. Because Callum Wilson, you look at the goals he signed, and you knew what you were going to get with Callum Wilson. He's not a Joe Linton, which you're taking a massive, massive gamble on. You're getting somebody who knows the Premier League, knows how to score, is addicted to scoring, he's obsessed with scoring. You're only going to hear him after he scored a brace. I should have had a hat-trick. You know, those sorts of things are what you want to hear from a striker. You don't want to see a striker who scored saying, well, I don't want to take the penalty next, because that's just not what we do in South America. That to me isn't somebody who is obsessed with goal scoring. Callum Wilson in an Alan Shearer-esque way, where they are absolutely goal hungry and it's all about scoring the goals. That's one of Joe Linton's major problems, along with a lack of football intelligence. I can't help but think he hasn't got that ruthless side to him. He might be a lovely bloke, a nice man and all this type of thing. He's the Newcastle number 9, and you expect certain things and certain standards of a Newcastle number 9 at the end of the day. So Callum Wilson, he's definitely got to be a contender for man of the season. And looking after that, we said Graham Jones coming in. He came in, let's face it, because Bruce was losing all sorts of shit. There was arguments going off behind the scenes. There were players unhappy about the formation, the sitting back, the blaming things, the Rafa Light constant approach to things, the results. We were heading to one place and one place only when this person went down, despite the best efforts of your St. Maximans and your Callum Wilsons and stuff like that. We were heading down. We brought in the Gateshead Guardiola, and instantly you saw a reaction. I remember the Everton game in particular, switching Callum Wilson to the right hand side, playing Mickey through the middle, bringing in St. Maximin a little bit further, more inside, but on the left hand side as a starting position. And you instantly saw the benefits. We went down to Goodison, and again it was another fantastic victory, and an important and crucial victory for Newcastle in the context of staying up this season. No doubt about it in my mind. And of course the added bonus of seeing that Mackham, tiny-handed little, I just hate him. He's a cocky little shit. I really, really do. Even playing for England, I'm sitting there and I'm like watching him through gritted teeth. He was arguably the best player against Austria. I felt saved England a few times, but it's you don't really want to give him any sort of positive or tick, if you will, in the he did all right column, because he's such a Mackham. It's unbelievable. But seeing him on the floor, seeing him in despair as the ball goes past him, Newcastle United coming down to Goodison Park, getting the points, taking them back to St James's, that was fantastic. It was much needed at the time. And again, another surprise result, because I don't think any Newcastle supporter thought we'd be able to get the victory down there. But yeah, Bruce, he obviously likes playing against Everton or Ancelotti, and Ancelotti has been that traumatised by being Bruce this season. He's pissed back off to Spain. He can't take the Bruce ball again for another season, so he's gone, and he's headed back off to Real Madrid to have a crack at that over there. And the other side, obviously, Joe Willock coming in. At the time, it was led to believe we signed him because we couldn't get in other people who we were after. So there was a bit of a head scratching at the time, thinking, Bruce, are you sure? Is this the player? I had a lot of fans saying that, at the end of the day, it's an area that we are in desperate need of. And I saw a lot of Arsenal fans saying, oh, thank goodness he's gone, they can only do it on Thursday nights, this, that and the other. So they were relieved that he'd gone, and it was an extra body towards a problem area in the park, because obviously we had the issue with Matty being disappeared for ages, and the fallings out again with Steve Bruce. We had Sean missing again for large periods, John Joe doing what John Joe does best, and that's 90% of the time play absolutely dog shite. You had Isaac Hayden in there trying to battle against the world. So Joe Willock was definitely a welcomed addition to the squad, and yeah, we probably needed more at the time. I think we all felt that, but Joe Willock came in and he was a revelation, despite the fact that Bruce benched him a couple of times, which is in typical Bruce fashion. If you're going to fuck up in the most spectacular way, because that's Steve Bruce. But there's no doubt about it, and pardon the pun, Rob, don't matter to you, but he says he saved Steve Bruce's bacon, big time Joe Willock, coming on, scoring crucial goals, earning Newcastle points and victories, and seeing an upturn in form. And it's a bit like, you know, the fans have been screaming for somebody from midfield with energy, with athleticism, with intelligence, making late runs into the box, and we got it in Joe Willock. He struck up an amazing partnership straight away with St Maximin. He had a chat first game of the season. He says, look, find me at the edge of the box, I will be there and I'll score. And that he did. He was as good as his word, and he came in and he scored again and again and again and again. And he equalled Alan Shearer's record, which is no easy thing to do at all. Wonderful for the lad. And I was there for the Sheffield United game. We want you to say, Joe Willock, we want you to say. I won't sing too much. Yeah, I'm saving it for some sort of X Factor audition. Only kidding, before somebody actually thinks that that's my plan. But yeah, Joe Willock, amazing. The fans sang the heart out to him. We want you to stay. All the ways he's coming off after scoring again. But yeah, a special talent. He really is. And you know, if it's £20 million, they would be daft not to do the business now at £20 million, because at the end of the day, he's 21 years old. You saw the goal against Fulham, run from his own half into the opposition box and buries it. He drills it. These are special goals. He's outscored the likes of De Bruyne in the same period, and these types of players. Our strikers can't live with his goal scoring form. You know, so he's added a major ingredient to any football team that's been missing for Newcastle since probably Johan Cabaye, and that is the ability to break from midfield and add goals from midfield. You know, back in the heyday, we had speed, we had Lees scoring goals from the middle, Johan Cabaye scoring goals from the middle, and it is something I think personally that we've seriously lacked. So £20 million, I'd snap your hand off. If it's only a loan, £5 million for a loan for the season, again, I'd snap your hand off, and I'd try to get a fee inserted into the contract somewhere, somehow. But there's no doubt that Joe Willock's got the bug. I know he's an Arsenal lad, but is he going to get the game time at the Emirates that he's going to get at St James's? Is he going to be the main man? And I think he's got the bug for being the main man. I think he likes the responsibility. He speaks and talks. He talks so well. He's an old head on young shoulders, and he offers us so much more than what anybody else in that midfield of ours can do. I would take him. I would swap any of our other midfielders or any other combination in order to get Joe Willock in. And even now, I've seen on, again, message boards for Arsenal, yeah, he's doing it for Newcastle, but will he be able to play in that position for us? Is it different? Do we want him? And I think Arsenal are just one of them clubs. It's no disrespect to Arsenal, because I've got friends who are Arsenal supporters, that, you know, from when I went to school. I think they just prefer the fancy foreign name to come in, as opposed to one of their own through the academy. And if we get the chance to do that deal, then Lee Charlie, I know he's a used wet wipe. Yeah, he's the biggest piss flap this side of anything. Yeah. But surely to God, no matter what you've got to do, if you've got to get it out on the tick, if you've got to get an overdraft, if you've got to beg, borrow, steal. Well, don't do any stealing, because we nearly got into hot water with the HMRC over what happened before, didn't we? We don't want to. I'm not saying anything did go on untoward, but let's not even risk it. Charlie? Calm down. But yeah, by any means necessary, which is legal, we need to be able to bring this lad in. And you're talking about as well trying to encourage fans to come back into the stadium if the stadiums are going to be fully open next season. You want to see a full St James's Park, and I think by bringing in a Joe Willock, that is the club as well on a PR front, trying to schmooze the fans a little bit. So yeah, it would make sense from a PR perspective as well as from a football perspective and stuff as well. And financial, surely to God, 21-year-old can play for the club for 10, 11, 12, 13 years, easy as. Bring him in, get him on a 5 or 6 year contract, and we keep him, and we see the best, and we build on players, young, hungry, athletic, exciting players like your St Maximums, like your Joe Willocks, and that's the sort of way you want to go, and you want to mix them in with your Callum Wilsons and your Dubravkas and arguably your Lascelles of this world, and build it up like that. But goodness me, anybody who says that Joe Willock isn't a good piece of business for Newcastle wants to absolutely head examining. And I've heard the Kennedy thing before, but it's a totally and utterly different kettle of fish this time. Totally. But yeah, Newcastle still supposedly active in the transfer front. Supposedly, first signing through the door will be the lad from Celtic, Ayer. I might have pronounced that wrong, but you know exactly who I mean. A defender coming in for around about £6 million. Got a year left on his Celtic contract, hence the lower fee. But yeah, there's a lot of people speaking up and about them. There's a few people who have said, really, but Van Dijk started up there, and look how that turned out. But I can also see, with my other hat on, John Alan Boonsong is still fresh in the bastard memory, and we got fleeced by 10 million for that deal. So it's really hard to tell from the Scottish League, no disrespect, but the quality, the standard isn't anywhere near what it should be up in Scotland at all. Do I think it's a good yeah, we haven't kept enough clean sheets this season. Bruce hasn't been happy with the centre backs. Lejeune was loaned out. I think he will be sold, along with Mutu actually. There's the possibility of Clark leaving. There's a possibility of Fernandez leaving. Still nothing concrete on Dummy, but again, from what you're led to believe, there's a year extension there in the contract which can be activated to keep him beyond. And I expect that they will announce something for Paul Dummett in due course. I really, really do, because he's a good professional, good squad player, can play a couple of different positions, and yeah, it seems a no-brainer. I can't imagine him being on fantastic, huge money, so it probably makes sense all around the shop. Newcastle are having a bit of a clear out of the reserves. 11 players out the door, huge numbers really. Then on top of that, we've got a few of the first teamers which will be announced shortly, but certainly Henri Savé finally is going to be off the wage bill. A player we should never have signed. People say, oh, but what about that West Ham? And my reply to that every single time is, yes, he scored a fantastic goal, but he also fucking gave away a goal, so he's only fucking wiping his nose clean for his cock up elsewhere in the game. He's done nothing for the club at all. He's just fleeced it and made sure he's got every penny out of his contract, because he knows he will be going nowhere else but down the football pyramid. He really is. He's just done which is his contractual right and just hoovered up the fucking door. That's it. That's all he's done. No different to what Christian Atsu's done on the last season, but obviously he did contribute under Rafa Benitez a heck of a lot. But yeah, Savé, it's going to go down as one of them signings which are the worst ever for Newcastle. He really, really will. So yeah, Savé out, Atsu out, Looks like he's going to be joined by at least one or two more defenders from the defensive ranks. They'll be going out, and the lad from Celtic looks like he'll be coming in decent enough. We're also looking at Conor Gallagher as well, supposedly. These are all alleged from what's floating in the ethos, in on a loan. That could be a loan deal. I touched upon Tammy Abraham before, but I think it's unrealistic. I really do. Conor Gallagher, yeah, decent. He's been out over at West Brom. Again, we were after him before, but we didn't do that deal. We can bring him in. Why not? Let's see what he's about. Let's say he's looked decent enough at West Brom from what I've seen before and everything. But I still think we're going to need more than that to be able to crack the nut and get further up the table and tackle these cups in the correct way, because I think he was capable this season with no fans in and everything else that's happened of having a better season. But with us losing players this summer, we'll still need to shore up a couple of holes in the squad, bare minimum, just to try and push us that little bit further on. And if the club does have any aspirations, which I think we all know that this football club has absolutely no aspirations at all. It's just basically working on a remit to stay up, and that's about it. We will need to spend more, but with the takeover and everything else that's floating around in the ethos at the moment, I can't see us spending loads and loads, and it'll also depend upon what we can sell. Freddie Woodman, I do think, will be sacrificed this summer with a fee between 10 to 15 million pound. The fee I've seen most often is 12. If we can bring in 12 million with maybe a buyback, with maybe a large sell-on fee, something like that, I think the club will do that and look to reinvest those funds in the short term. There's also discussions I think to be had around Carl Darlow. Is he going to want to sit on the bench again after being first choice for 2/3 of the season? So I'm not so sure that he will, and at his age, I think he's around about 30 now. He'll want to be first choice somewhere, and I think for a team coming up or a top end championship club, it'd be a fantastic player to be able to be between the sticks for you. So we've got Gillespie there as a ready-made replacement. I think he comes in as our number 2 next season, and we've got some good young goalkeepers as well coming through. But I just don't think, I think Woodman's had the taste of first team football, and that's what he wants. I would like to keep him. If in an ideal world, if we were sitting there and we had a decent owner and money in the bank and a good squad, I'd say keep him and have him as number 2, and eventually he'll be number 1, and he'll come past Dubravka, pardon me. But we all know that the world we live in is the world of Mike Ashley. With 14 years of this tyrant, we know exactly what we're getting when it comes to this man. So yeah, I can see Woodman being sacrificed to bring in the money, to bring in the coin, to be able to help us out in other areas. And I'll be sad to see him go in the same way that I was sad to see Fraser Foster go back in the day. It's exactly the same situation as that. It really is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's up to date. That's all the transfer rumours and everything else like that up to date. The season that has now been consigned to the history pages, filed for me under shit sandwich. Like I said, shit at the beginning, decent at the beginning, shit in the middle, and reasonably decent as well at the end. But Newcastle staying up 12th in the end puts a major gloss on it. Get ready for all those pro Bruce people. They'll of course go quiet when other jobs come up. The Spurs job's available, the Palace job's available, the Everton job's available. He won't be linked to any, he won't be applying for any, he won't get interviewed for any, because he's dog shit, and we all know he's dog shit. But we've all got to pretend that he's so great, and we should be so grateful for having an absolute pleb as our manager. A man who gets great kicks, him and his son gets great kicks out of winding up Newcastle fans, through phoning up your southern mates, and phoning up Talk Sport and having a right slag off session for Newcastle fans, and then just saying, oh, it was just the language, it's my limited vocabulary. Well, is my limited vocabulary, Steve Bruce? Fuck off and don't let the door hit you on the way out. Honestly, one of the worst managers for me that we've had in a long time. Bruce Ball, hopefully it's not too long before Bruce Ball is done with. We don't have to tolerate this absolute shite. It's not total football, it's not sexy football. Bruce Ball, it's fucking awful. And if you think it's so great, Everton, ex-pros, Tottenham, ex-pros, ex-managers and stuff, you have him at your club and see how that goes. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't want to touch him with a fucking barge pole. Goodness me. Hopefully Mrs. Bruce has a word with him over an apple crumble this summer, and they decide that, yeah, in the bigger scheme of things, it's probably better if you spend a nice early retirement and stop putting yourself through the stresses and strains of managing us unrealistic, us ungrateful, us demanding bunch of Geordie bastards. Anyway, I hope you are A-OK. Everybody is safe and well. Take care. Keep it tuned. Keep an eye out on the YouTube channel for more videos coming left, right and centre over the summer, including a few bits and bobs as well on the Euros. Why not? Take care. Keep it tuned. And I'll speak to you later.